scariest kind of haircut you can ever imagine. Welcome to Groovy Movies. My name is Lily Austin.
And my name's James Brailsford. Hello.
Hello, how are you, James?
I am not too bad at all, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm all right. I can feel a cold brewing, which I'm
Oh,
quite
dear.
concerned about, but I'm okay. It's fine because it was the Cannes Film Festival last week, and that always buoys my spirits. Was that a smooth segue? I'm not sure.
I don't know, but I'll take it. I mean, it kind of crept up on me this year's kind of Cannes. It just I was suddenly like, oh shit, it's Cannes. I just somehow didn't get sucked into the bus. I think it's because I've been off Instagram, so I don't get like a daily second by second immersion in what's coming up. Whereas in the lead up to the end of last year, I was plugged into everything that was happening in the world of film. I felt really on it. Whereas I realized actually without social media nudging me, I kind of let that one slip.
Well, I mean, that's all right, because now we're here. We're talking about the highlights. The main thing was the fact that there was this female majority jury presided over by Greta Gerwig. And there was a bit of fuss about that because basically nice people who made good films won, which apparently it must be down to all the women on the panel.
Oh, right, I see. A bias towards good films made by nice people.
That's all I can think. Okay, so the big winner was Sean Baker, who I believe you're a fan of, James. He made the Florida Project, Tangerine, Red Rocket.
I rewatched Tangerine a couple of weeks ago, actually, and put it up on the projector just because,
nice.
you know, it was shot on the iPhone 5, and let's see what it looks like on the big screen. It held up great, and, you know, it's a fun little film. It's a good laugh.
I feel like that's definitely on our list. We were thinking about doing an episode on films all shot over one day. And when we get to that, guys, that will definitely be on the list, I think. But yeah, but it sounds like a great film there. So it was a film called Honora, and it was described as a rowdy whirlwind romance between a sex worker and an obscenely rich son of a Russian oligarch.
And apparently, it's like an odd couple.
Yeah, I think antics ensue. I think it's exciting. So I can't wait to see that. And then the other big winner was kind of for the second most important award is the Grand Prix. And that was won by Payal Kapadia, which that was for a movie called All We Imagine as Light, which is the first Indian film to be selected into the competition in 30 years. And the first win for an Indian person at all. So
very notable. Okay.
So exciting movies that I want to see. The other thing I feel like we need to briefly discuss is the fact that Yorgos Lanthimos debuted another film literally a month after Poor Things comes out. And
I need a rest, please.
No, I'm excited. Do you think? Because it's, you know what? It's not only was it debuted at Cannes, but it's already been picked up. It's coming out in the UK on the 28th of June. We can see it next month.
My God. I just yeah. I'm glad that he is becoming very popular because it's good that an interesting director with a very unique vision and style, but it's just not my style. It's a bit too, there's just a bleakness that just somehow I can't quite fully lock into. I need about 3 to 4 years gap between one dose and the other.
They're not easy watches, his movies, that's for sure.
No, you know, it's not like your big burger that you can just have any time of day, picks you up. You know, this is like some, I don't know, like I imagine what caviar must be like. I've never had it, but it's just like, okay.
You've never had caviar?
No, I'm from up north.
I love it. Good for you,
I've had
staying true
Henderson's
to
relish.
Your working class roots. I mean, the reality, you know, the middle classness that is true, the real deal.
No,
but I love that when it comes to caviar, yeah.
That's my limit. That's my limit.
Okay, fair enough. Well, all that's to say, the real fuss was about a movie by a little known director called Francis Ford Coppola. James?
His follow-up to Twixt, which I'm sure everyone can remember. Twixt in the cinema? No, nobody can. Oh my God, his last film that he did in like 2009, 2010 was a detective story starring Val Kilmer.
Oh my God, I don't know anything about this. They must have done incredible work to bury it.
If you want to have like the most eclectic time with movies, I suggest just watching Francis Ford Coppola's oeuvre in order from beginning to end, because it is a riot.
Okay. Maybe over like a few days we can do that at some point.
I used to every Sunday, me and my friend used to work our way through each of his films, starting off with Dementia 13, his low-budget horror that he shot for Roger Corman in 6 days in Ireland.
Oh my God. Okay, wow. Okay, yeah. No, that's a good way of doing it. Eat one a week, one a week.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Anyway, sorry. That's a long thing to say. This is his latest and probably his last film.
Do you think?
There's 2 scenarios here. This becomes a runaway success, in which case I could be completely wrong and there'll be another film. I think the reality is this is going to struggle to make back the 120 million. So I don't think he's going to want to hurry and self-finance another film. And I'm not sure another studio is going to want to give him money for a film.
Well, that's the thing, right? So he has self-financed this movie. There's no studios involved. He did it totally himself, which is kind of the signature, the trademark Francis Ford Coppola move, right? Because he did the same thing with Apocalypse Now.
He kind of goes all in, or whatever the poker analogy is, but he puts all the chips on the table. He always he puts everything on red or whatever. He takes a big risk. He always swings big.
Yeah.
And like in the 70s, his big swings always hit. They all connected. But then from literally 1980, it's almost the turn of the decade, when he kind of went all in on One from the Heart, to the tune of $26 million worth of loans that were in his name. And it was a massive flop. And so he spent the next 20 years digging himself out of debt.
Making movies for studios, right?
Yeah, he had to, every year for 20 years, I think, he had to come up with $2 million every October to make sure that he didn't get all his belongings and everything in his estate kind of taken away from him. So yeah, he was a gun for hire, just paying off his debt.
Oh God, and you think he's going to go back into the same situation again?
Well, I don't think he'll be in debt, because he's only sold like 100 million. He's also sold 120 million of his estate, but he's still got some of it. So he's not gambled.
Okay,
he's not
fine.
gambled everything.
It wasn't debts. He just got the money together.
I think his winery's total value is like 300 million, and he sold like 150 or 200 million of it, I think, is what's happened. So
okay, love that for him. Very savvy. What do we think about Megalopolis?
Megalopolis, I'm going with.
Is it Megalopolis? Oh yeah. Okay, sorry, that was a typo on my part in our script. Megalopolis.
Oh, you missed off a lot.
I missed up a lot. Yeah, whatever. Yes. I mean, sounds completely mad. Adam Driver in a Roman epic fable of a modern America.
I was excited, but then I've been reading the reviews and like, oh God, I'm not sure I want to put Lily through this. It's not something I think
James, I would have put myself through it. I love Francis Ford Coppola. I think he's an absolute delight. Ever since we watched that, we watched the documentary about the making of Apocalypse Now, Hearts of Darkness, which was directed by his wife, who sadly died a few weeks ago. The film Megalopolis was like tributed to her. But like, it made me love him so much. He's such a sweetheart. So I'm definitely going to see this film. And I love that the reviews are so mixed. Some are saying it's awful. Some are saying it's amazing. It's a mess, but a good mess. No, it's just a mess. It's a bloated. Oh no, he's a genius. It's going to be like Apocalypse Now. People will hate it first, but then they'll understand.
Yeah.
I'm in. I want to see this.
Oh, no, yeah. I'm definitely going to see it. I think it's going to be more One from the Heart than Apocalypse Now. That's my gut feeling. And, One from the Heart is still worth a watch, but it's not pleasant.
Okay, well, I'm just hoping. I was a bit worried because of those mixed reviews that maybe it wouldn't get some kind of distribution deal, but it has. In Europe, it's got distribution deals in all major regions, was the phrase I saw bandied about. So I think that must include the UK, right? Surely.
Yeah, and I hope it gets an IMAX release. I heard rumours that they were angling for an IMAX release. I thought that'd be great. So,
All right, guys, so stay tuned for our discussion of that film. But shall we get to the main event?
Absolutely.
So this week we are talking about a very interesting film, Love Lies Bleeding, Rose Glass's sophomore movie. That's what the word, right, for your second movie.
Yeah. Difficult second movie, sophomore movie, the follow-up movie, the next one.
to Saint Maud. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but it's excellent. Please go watch it.
I was going to ask, so you have seen it then? Because when it came out, it looked very interesting. But in general, I don't watch horror, which I need to get over this because I think horror is possibly the most interesting kind of genre that appeals to younger audiences, especially at film school. Lots of the students watch horror, and I just think I need to get over myself. So yeah, what do you think, Saint Maud?
Okay, interesting you say that because, yes, as a teenager, I loved horror movies. My best friend and I used to, every Friday night, we'd watch horror movies together. We'd watch all the classics, you know. And then as I got older, I stopped enjoying them. I think because, and I thought about this a lot, I think what it is that I think a lot of horror, the aim of the game is just to scare you. So they don't do the storyline isn't very original or well thought out. And the characters there isn't any real character development often. So it needs to be a very good horror film for me to like it. But Saint Maud is absolutely that. I mean, the first half of the film, there are no jump scares really in it, but it very much builds just the story of this woman, this nurse, and the person that she cares for. That is fascinating. And then in the final kind of third, it really like ramps up. And the movie, it's only like an hour and a half, this movie, I think even shorter than that. So it's
right, nice.
but it's so clever. It's really, really excellent. It's an amazing movie. And I just love that she went on to do Love Lies Bleeding because you can definitely see some similarities in terms of the things that she's interested in, but it's a completely different movie. Completely different.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. When I realised she'd done Saint Maud, I was interested to know how it compared to her first film.
Yeah, and it's cool because Rose Glass is British. Saint Maud, it feels like a very British movie in lots of ways. And so I love that Love Lies Bleeding is this movie set in kind of the fantastical New Mexico desert.
Yeah.
And
I again when I watched Love Lies Bleeding, I didn't know that Rose Glass was English. Actually, it's only since doing my research afterwards, and maybe I wouldn't say it explained anything, but because the depiction of America, it's a very stylized, heightened like Americana, and I was immediately comparing it to Bound, just because of the, because we have a romantic lesbian couple at the heart of what is like a crime thriller drama, but they're both very different takes on it, and they're both hyper stylized, but both very different types of stylization. So maybe it's just that slight outsider, that British perspective that the Wachowskis, obviously being America themselves, had a different take on the material. But I'm not saying that's the only reason, but perhaps that explains this very like almost fairy story kind of atmosphere that Love Lies Bleeding has.
Yes, totally. And the other film that I thought of when I was watching it is Paris, Texas, because this is also set in a desert. There are just certain things about the landscape that really reminded me of it. And then actually I read an interview with Rose Glass where she talked about the list of movies that she gave to the cast to watch as a reference. And Paris, Texas was one of them. And Wim Wenders, who we talked about, the director of Perfect Days, he's a German director. And so there is a similarity, again, of directors who aren't American, but being very much enamored with in making use of the fantastical idea of the American desert, An
interesting take. And perhaps there's the cinematography, the kind of quite saturated color washes that are across people's faces and stuff, which reminds me a little bit. I mean, Love Lies Bleeding is much grungier, I think, looking much darker.
It's very dirty, isn't it?
Yeah,
dirty screen a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's a very textured look to it, kind of grainy. Not a good look, by the way. This isn't a criticism, but just it's whereas Paris, Texas is a little cleaner. It's still a darker feel to it, but just a bit crisper and cleaner overall.
Do you think so? I think it's quite sort of grainy as well in a way, or maybe that's just because it was made on film.
Yeah.
So it's always got some texture. But I know what you mean. Anyway, it definitely is clean. I mean, Love Lies Bleeding, it feels like so, like you said, grungy, dirty, sweaty. It's very visceral, right? Rose Glass really leans into kind of bodily functions a lot in the film.
Yeah.
But should we're kind of dived in without giving a plot summary.
Why didn't you give us a plot summary then, Lily? Go on, tell us.
I actually gave one literally the night before last at a party, explaining to people what this movie was about. So I'm going to basically repeat what I said that night. No spoilers, guys. Don't worry. We're going to be careful. But you should just go and see it. Pause this. Go right now to the cinema and then come back. Okay, so Love Lies Bleeding. We meet Kristen Stewart. She plays Lou. She is a employee at a gym in 1989. The fall of the Berlin Wall is happening in the background of this movie. Then a very sexy girl called Jackie walks in, played by Katie O'Brien. She has a very impressive muscular physique, very sexy, and starts working out. And Kristen Stewart cannot take her eyes off her. Lou can't take her eyes off her. Before you know it, they're in a relationship. Katie O'Brien, Jackie, I should say, is living with Lou because up until then she had been homeless and had just arrived in town, had gotten a job on Lou's dad's gun range, and he is played by Ed Harris, balding Ed Harris, but with long hair at the back. Very good choice. And he is also called Lou Senior, which I think is important, okay? Lou Senior, Ed Harris, Kristen Stewart is Lou Junior. And I should also say that Kristen Stewart, Lou, hates her dad. We're not quite sure why, but he does seem to be quite evil and crazy. He's very into insects. She also has a sister, Lou has a sister called Beth, who's played by Jenna Malone, who you might recognise from such brilliant films as Saved.
Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko, exactly. That was the other one that I was...
Right.
Two ends of the spectrum in terms of types of movie. Love to see her back. And Dave Franco plays her abusive husband, JJ, who Kristen Stewart also hates. All of these things start to mix together. But at the centre of the story, we have Lou and Jackie's relationship and the fact that Jackie wants to enter into a bodybuilding competition in Las Vegas in a few weeks' time. So we're kind of watching Lou and Jackie's love relationship. They're together. They're completely in love and obsessed with each other. And they're working towards Jackie going to this bodybuilding contest, helped in part by Lou offering her steroids when they first meet, and that becoming quite an integral part of the story as well. But I'll say no more than that. I feel like I explained that very badly and there's a lot going on. But needless to say, it gets crazy and murderous and exciting.
I didn't really know much about this film going into it, which I quite like. You know, I tried to do this. It's, you know, I still loved the experience of going to see the Florida Project with knowing very little about it. And Love Life Leading, I knew a tiny bit, but I just caught some interview or something. But I really didn't know much, so it was quite interesting to go into because the film seems to have a certain tone, a certain I would say it felt like gritty realism, but then as soon as Jackie takes the steroids for the first time, we immediately get you hear the sound effects and you see the twitching of her body in a way that's absolutely nothing like reality. Like, okay, so the film isn't that gritty. This is like outside the realms of what could happen in the real world. You know, that was I don't know, it was an interesting kind of like twist to where the film was going.
What I love about it is that on the one hand, I think the way it is filmed, and yes, the subplot, I suppose, with Jackie taking these steroids and what happens with that, all of that feels very fantastical. And like you said, there is something kind of fairy tale about this setting and the kind of the world in which they live and the fact that there is this evil father in the background and during the film you're not quite sure what he's doing, but you know he's scary and kind of controls everyone in the world that they live in, but they're kind of trapped in it. Lou doesn't feel she can leave. There is something fantastical about that, but then at the same time I think the performances are so grounded in reality, particularly Kristen Stewart's. I want to discuss her performance with you because I think it's pretty amazing. There is such reality to that, so I think that is actually what makes the film really work, is that combination.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very grounded performance from Kristen Stewart. I wasn't expecting it, I guess, is the thing, and I was quite delighted by it because I always like something that because I suspected when the steroids were introduced, the film I'd seen up to that point, I just thought, oh, this is going to be a much more kitchen sink drama exploration of the dangers of steroids. And then when it wasn't, when it was like you heard the sound effects of the muscles and the sinew like stretching and twisting, like, okay, this is not going the direction I thought.
The film is completely unpredictable. It sets up these archetypes, I think, of like the American desert, the couple in love at the center with lots of fucked up people around them, and like, you know, there is this kind of crime element and this violent murder assassination element to it too. But actually nothing that happens you can predict. It just gets more and more chaotic. And what I loved about that steroid thing was that where you expect that to end up is not at all where it ends up. And I won't say
No,
anything, guys, watch the
no.
movie, but I found that very, very pleasing. It's lovely for something like that to not go where you think it's going to go. But thank God, because the one downside about seeing movies at the cinema is that you see the trailers, and I think the more the more this is happening, the more I think I need to make sure I time my entrance to the cinema carefully, because I'd seen the trailer at least 3 times and was so
Ah,
excited. I knew, the site said, yes, I'm going to absolutely love this movie. And I did. I think it's my favorite film of the year so far. I absolutely love it. But huge spoiler for the end of the movie. The thing that happens at the
right.
very end that I won't spoil, because it's like amazing, brilliant scene, very satisfying ending. I had it from the trailer in mind. I was waiting for that throughout the film. So that was really,
Right.
really frustrating. I was so annoyed about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very jealous of you, because it is a movie that really, I mean, there are so many surprises that it couldn't be fully spoiled, but that was a little bit frustrating.
Once I realized the whole film was kind of a bit stylized and magical reality, let's say.
Yeah, I thought magical realism was definitely a vibe.
So some I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't say I had much to say about it. I remember thinking I was comparing it to Bound, because I guess in my head it was the only thing that I could think in any way was similar to in something that I'd seen before.
Mm.
So they have a. I don't envy their relationship in Love's Lies Bleeding. It's not an aspirational relationship that I want to get into, I guess, is what I could say.
Yeah.
Whereas in Bound, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind being Corky.
Yeah, no one would mind. Everyone would love to be Corky. Okay, yeah. But I think that's kind of what I loved about their relationship, was watching a very, very dysfunctional relationship blossom, and because it was done, well, I think we haven't really talked about is how funny this film is. This film is hilarious. Like, I've seen it described as a queer thriller, and it is that, but it's also a rom-com and like hilarious. And I
A
mean,
dark and
a very
twisted
dark,
rom-com.
exactly, a dark and twisted, fucked up bodybuilding rom-com. And I just think that is the Venn diagram I want from my movies.
That's what you're after. That's what you're in the business for.
Yes, because it's so, I love, I just, I don't know if there are that many movies actually which show the complete the crazy besottedness of when you meet someone and you both immediately like fall crazy in love with each other. I think
And you go all in, even though you
yeah,
hardly know each other.
yeah, I read Kristen Stewart actually describing it as the fever dream of falling in love, and I think that is totally that, when it's that kind of just instantly slightly toxic, which I think is kind of summed up by the fact that the first thing Kristen Stewart does to try and ingratiate herself with Jackie is offer her these steroids, because she clearly, I mean, my reading of that was like, she clearly doesn't feel like she is enough just as herself. She needs to offer something else to make someone fall in love with her, even though it's clear from the minute Jackie sees her that she is very into her. But then equally, Jackie has her own insecurities. She clearly knows that she has this really impressive body, and she kind of owns that. But it's also, you can feel it slightly marred by insecurity, right? Is that she's trying to compensate for something that she feels she lacks. This has been getting really into the COD psychology of these
Yeah, my God.
characters.
I'm loving this deep dive.
But James, let's because see, this is what I'm into, and then we're going to move on to talking about the cinematography.
It's hitting both of our personal interests quite
Yeah,
hard, huh?
exactly. I
Yeah.
think I love seeing a relationship. I just felt like both those characters, I just kind of understood them, even though they're both so extreme, because what was very interesting, I think, was the fact that on the face of it, Jackie is if we think about gendered stereotypes, Jackie is a bodybuilder. So she is physically stronger than Lou. And
Mm,
yet, in their relationship, she is definitely the submissive one. Lou is
yeah.
the one who's kind of in control and is always telling her what to do and basically dictating the terms of their relationship, but in this way that's quite, that she has a gentle approach to it. And I just found that dynamic quite interesting. And then the fact that Jackie is like that, but then will suddenly flip and become quite violent.
Oh God, yeah.
To say the least. But towards the end, when they kind of reconcile, and that conversation that they have is just so amazingly messed up and toxic, but hilarious. And because of the way these characters have unfolded, you're completely rooting for them, even though they're both the most fucked up, messed up people. They've clearly both, they do terrible things all the time. I think, James, you
Yeah.
would define them both as psychopaths.
I mean, I think like textbook, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I literally, at the final scene, I was thinking James would call her a textbook psychopath, and I would say she's just trying to support her girlfriend in very difficult conditions. But
Yeah.
okay, so just to give you a couple, the other films that I heard that Rose Glass suggested to them to watch were Cronenberg's Crash, and
never
also
seen that.
Showgirls.
Really?
Groovy Movie's favorite Showgirls.
That makes a lot of sense. That
Right?
really does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, explain then. Why does that make a lot of sense?
Because Showgirls is this kind of, you either see it as like a completely bad movie, or you see it as something where it was deliberately meant to be this kind of strange, dark fairy tale. And again, this is what Love Lies Bleeding is a strange, dark fairy tale set in America about women trying to, I don't know, make something of themselves, but in the end, they have to be part of this horrible world that they're in. So yes, I mean, I hadn't thought about it until you just brought it up, so I'm just trying to figure that out now. But yeah, it makes sense. There is a connection between the two films.
Yeah, doesn't it feel like it's sort of an evolution of Showgirls, where it's kind of ironed out a few of the kinks a little bit, maybe?
Oh,
not that
I
see. Not that I want Showgirls. Showgirls to me is perfection. I don't want any kinks ironed out, but because I think it's equally as camp and big, right? But with Showgirls, the acting is very bad on the whole. I think we can agree. And I've just realised there's also a link now because of the cut between Bound and Love Lies Bleeding. The connecting tissue is Showgirls because I've forgotten the actress's name. Who plays
Gina Gershon.
Yeah, exactly. Gina Gershon. She's our connector between, and she gets it. She gets her role in both those movies.
Yeah, she does. She nails it. Yeah.
And Kristen Stewart is almost her natural child. Not child, but evolution.
I think the thing with Showgirls is that some people argue that it's just a bad film, badly made by people who didn't know what they were doing. And then, well, actually, maybe there's more to it than that, or it's a mixture of both. Joe Esterhaus's mad script, but then Paul Verhoeven, he's not a bad director. So there's a mix of, whereas I think with Love Lies Bleeding, it's ironed out those problems where I don't think you're asking those questions as much.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it knows exactly what it's doing, and it is achieving that. It feels very smart, whereas with Showgirls, it's very hard to find the line where it feels deliberate or not. But and that's the fun of it. Honestly, that is the fun of it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is about this film, but everything just weaves together. Because I feel like if you were very consciously trying to do like a slightly camp, over the top, gritty, violent, comedic movie, it could all just not work and feel a bit try hard almost, but it just all feels so naturally.
Yeah, it's basically what you described there is it's tonally consistent. It doesn't feel like it's suddenly pivoting from something that's really funny to something that's really dark. It all feels darkly funny, twisted.
Yeah.
Because it's nice when you start watching a film, you think, oh yeah, I think this is a good film. Actually, you can usually tell in the first few minutes. But I just thought the sense of atmosphere is great. I also thought the sound mixing was really good. I just thought, this is a very well told story that none of it's jarring. The use of music's really clever. It all comes together. I didn't know anything about Rose Glass, but I just thought this is a clearly director who's kind of on top of their game already.
Yeah, I'm so excited for her next movie. I think she's an absolute genius. It really has made me reevaluate my feelings about Kristen Stewart, I have to say.
Oh, right. Well, what your thoughts? Because I don't have much thoughts on Kristen Stewart. I've not really seen her in that much stuff.
You're telling me you didn't watch Twilight?
I didn't watch Twilight. However, I did watch Spencer, and I loved Spencer.
Oh, did you love Spencer?
Yeah, I had a great time with it.
Spencer.
Oh, I just thought it was a fun, like, if you take it as like a, let's remix the royal family as a Stanley Kubrick film, it was like as a fun riff. That's where what I got from it.
Yeah. I wanted to think that. So I think my issue is that I watched the first Twilight. I'm not across that world. I never read those books or anything.
No, Lily, you disappoint me.
I found it a very, very strange movie, very awkward. It felt totally strange. And I found Kristen Stewart's awkward presence very difficult to watch. And I feel like that has carried on in every film I've seen her in. Not that I've seen her in that many movies, but probably more than I even can remember at this point. But I always found her a bit awkward to watch, and it seemed to me she was always playing that she can only play herself, and I don't believe that is a bad thing. I think that's how it is for many actors. Very few actors are Oscar Isaacs and can completely change. Love that guy.
Yeah, no, like it's like Christopher Walken, is it? You get Christopher Walken in
Exactly,
your movie.
and that is an amazing, so I don't mind that at all in general, but I just didn't particularly enjoy that. But in this film, it really, really clicked. Her character was just, I felt like she really did anchor the movie. And apparently Rose Glass had her in mind when she was writing the script. She always wanted Kristen Stewart to play this role in it. And you can tell because, like I was kind of saying before, there's this insanity to this movie. It keeps getting crazier and crazier, and it's very over the top. And I feel like Kristen Stewart's kind of subtle kind of confusion about what the hell is going on all the time. And also her comedic, the way she delivers some of those lines, the whole thing with her trying not to smoke is like hilarious and genius. And it just really, really works in that film. So it made me think, God, I need to really reappraise her because I know a lot of people like I began watching that movie, Personal Shopper. There's another one, Cloud of Ills something. Sorry, guys. This French movie. And just in both, I was like, these were tipped as like her renaissance. Like, okay, now she's making the movie she wants to make. She's free of the Twilight world and, she can do these kind of cool indie movies. And I still was like, oh, I just don't get it. But now I'm like, maybe I was totally wrong. I need to get on board because she was really, really good in this.
Yeah, she was great. I like I say, I was thinking I haven't seen her in much, but this is really good because you're right. She navigates this thing of grounding it while also fitting into this heightened world, which I was watching it thinking that's great just to be able to pull that off.
Totally. And honestly, watching an interview with her about the movie, I've never seen her so animated and so passionate and funny about something. I feel like probably a lot of the time she's worked on movies that she doesn't really care about, she's not that proud of, and it's like, I just got to get through this press cycle and then I can be done with it. But this one, she's clearly obsessed, proud of it, loves it, and it comes through in that performance for sure.
And Dave Franco in a small but memorable role.
Such good casting in that movie. He, of all the actors I'm aware of, I hate him. I just think sorry, not personally, but he's very, very good at playing an absolute arsehole. And it was like, at the minute I saw his screen, I was like, oh my God, I hate this guy.
Yeah, same. And I don't want to give too much away, but I was expecting to have deal with this character for a lot longer than we end up doing. So
Yes, I know. Such a relief. And Ed Harris, I mean, just so good at playing a scary freaky guy.
I watched this film and I just thought, this is a good film. This is the kind of film that, like, felt in the 90s. There was a lot of this kind of stuff, like slightly more experimental American fare. I just hope it does well enough to kind of keep these kind of things going.
Yeah, of course, it's another A24 movie. No surprises there. A co-production with Film 4, who also made St. Maud. In fact, guys, if you want to watch St. Maud, it's on, if you're in the UK, it's on Channel 4's streaming service.
Ah, great. I might actually check that out myself.
Yeah, honestly, I think you will love it. But yeah, I was trying to find out what the budget was because I wanted to check if it was doing okay. But it's kind of weird because online it says $3 million, but then I read an interview of Rose Glass where she talked about feeling quite overwhelmed at times by having a budget many times bigger than the St. Maud budget. And the St. Maud budget was 2.5. So
yes.
It
That
doesn't,
does sound a bit odd. It looks like it probably cost a bit more than 3 million.
right?
But
It's
yeah,
expensive looking, and there are some like there are different sets, different locations.
yeah, maybe not a lot more because obviously their most expensive film to date has been Civil War at 50 million or 54 or something. So it's not
I'm
we're not
guessing like
there.
9 mil.
Yeah, I'd said like 9, 10. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so that is because so far they've made 9.3, but it's
come
been out for
on.
a week when we're recording this. So I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it's got this like huge critical response, it's been getting a lot of rave reviews. So hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like sorry to bake us into being a bit topical. I've been just kind of looking around on the reviews for The Fall Guy. Not a film I'm planning on going to see, but the kind of film that ordinarily does okay, and it's not doing particularly okay. You know, it's like
Oh,
it's got,
really?
you know, it's a breezy comedy, action adventure. It's Emily Blunt. It's Ryan Gosling. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Ryan Gosling.
Um, and you know, he's got all the ingredients where I just assumed, oh, it's not for me, but I'm sure it'll do okay, and it's not really doing okay. So, who the fuck is wanting to see anything these days? What can we get people to go see? So I'm hoping Love Lies Bleeding does okay. I hope it's got gets a good word of mouth. It certainly seems like it's got a good word of mouth.
I mean, everyone I speak to, I'm telling to go see this movie. So I'm trying my hardest. Anyone
Yeah,
listening, if you haven't seen it yet, go see it and
go
then
see
carry
it.
on
It's
the
a good
good
film.
work. We've got to spread the word. We've got to spread the word.
And it's a good to make it very clearly, I think it's a good film to see at the cinema. And I saw it on a
Yes.
very big screen, and the sound mix was great. Like it was worth seeing at the cinema, you know, because you do get an extra experience. It looks good, sounds great.
Just be prepared for how visceral it is because there were many moments. One of my friends who I went to sit with, there was literally a point where she went, "No, no, no," in the cinema. And I had to be like, shh, like everyone around us was like laughing. It was amazing because yeah, you will, if you're at all an expressive person, you're going to express yourself, but it's great. That's what it's all about, I think. That just
Yeah,
tells you how great this movie is.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
All right, so shall we take a trip to the film pharmacy?
absolutely. Yes, please.
Hi, guys. I've got a friend who says she feels sad when she watches films, but tears never come. So, what films would you recommend, sad or even happy ones, to make the tears flow?
I mean, this is something that I struggle with myself. Actually, is that you know, I can feel upset watching films because, you know, as stoic as I am, I have a heart. You know, it's not granite inside here that beats in my chest. So, but I can't. Tears. I don't think I've ever had tears at a film, so I'm not sure
You're telling me
I
you've
can offer
literally
much.
never cried at a film?
I might have cried with laughter, maybe, but as far as like
Really?
the sads, I've felt really upset, but I'm not sure I've quite squeezed a tear out.
Okay, well, I love this because, yet again, we're fitting well into our gender norms because our gender roles, I guess I should say, both things. Because I mean, I once cried watching Knocked Up.
Okay, right.
And not from laughter. It's not that funny a film. I just suddenly was really touched by what they were going through with this pregnancy.
Right.
I just,
God.
if you hit me at the right time of the month, I'm going to cry. I mean, I'm intrigued with this question as to whether his friend said to him, "What's wrong with me? I should cry. Like, why don't I ever cry?" Or if he was like, "What's wrong with you? I want you to cry," because maybe she's happy not crying. Like, I think it's fine. It doesn't really mean anything. It's kind of random and arbitrary.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with not crying. You know, I'm kind of okay with it. I don't need to, but
But
I do often wonder what would it be that tips me over the edge. You know.
okay, so we need to do in. I don't know if you ever really watched Friends, but there was a storyline with how Chandler doesn't cry, and I think they gave him a kind of a diet of very emotional movies to try and get him like. I remember Bambi was one of the ones, which I don't think
Right.
I actually cried at, even though it was very upsetting as a kid. But
I remember I didn't even cry at E.T. dying when I went to see it at the cinema in 1982. And the cinema, I remember it was just wailing, wails all around the cinema. But
that
I'd
sounds a
read.
bit performative.
Well,
Well done, you, for not crying, not bowing to the pressure.
yeah, all those other 5-year-old children.
Yeah,
Poof, you won't
what
catch me
wimps.
doing that. Wimps. So yeah, so because I'd read the picture book the day before and I knew that he comes back to life, so there was no tears for me.
James, spoilers from a young age.
Right.
Devastating. I actually remember I'd never seen my dad cry until I think I was about 15, and we watched as a family that movie, The Lives of Others. Do you remember that German
Oh, yeah.
movie? Fantastic movie. And at the very end, he cried kind of out of happiness, like he was moved by the final thing that happens. And I don't really want to, it's a man just smiling at a book. Like
Okay.
it's touching, but it was really sweet. It always stayed with me as a very, very sweet thing that was the
That's
thing
what
that finally,
that's what got him. That's
yeah,
what got
got him
him.
going. The last film I really, really cried at was obviously Past Lives. That moved
Uh-huh.
me
Okay.
so, so much, and I cried a lot. So that would be my recommendation, but it does really depend on what gets to you. If lost loves and the passing of time and the complexity of relationships moves you, then that would be my recommendation. But I understand that is not for everyone. So I, I think
Do you have a more general? What about a hardy perennial? Because Past Lives is a very recent film. Do you have is the one that you'd have to pinpoint like just a classic for the old get the tears going?
I don't know, because I feel like any of those classics they'll probably have tried. You know?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I mean,
Yeah.
I don't. What? Oh, here's one: Steel Magnolias.
Oh wow! Again, I don't know nothing about Steel Magnolias apart from it's a quote unquote weepy.
Yeah, it's a weepy. You could give that one a go if you want to try a classic. But it does feel when it's so on the nose, you know, the
Right.
sadness and devastation. Oh, I watched Stepmom recently, another fine Ed
Okay.
Harris movie, and that got me going as well. Actually, that's quite sad. So
Okay.
these are all quite femme moving films. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and me being a stoic man with no, I'm just, I like I say, films make me sad, and I feel really sad and upset, and they stay with me. But like to get those tears out, it's a bridge too far at the moment.
I want to see you cry, James. I want to see that emotion. Okay, so I'm going to be working on this with James.
If you want to see me cry, buy me tickets and say we're going to see Interstellar at the BFI. We get there and it's a laser projection. Then you might see tears.
Okay, great. Perfect. Cool. I think that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to another episode of Groovy Movies.
Thank you very much. And if you could leave us a 5-star review, it all helps get us out to a larger audience. Thank you very much.
So we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye.
Bye.
Follow us on Instagram at Groovy Movies Pod or email us groovymoviespod@gmail.com.
Groovy Movies was produced and edited by Lily Austin.
Music and sound by James Brailsford.
Our logo was designed by Abby Jo Sheldon.
For references and more information about the films discussed, check out the show notes.